prime. So we're going to do 4.OA.4, a couple of different word columns. Remember, this is prime, composite, factors, multiples. These two examples we're going to do for prime and for multiples. The word problems are pretty straightforward, but the students are still required to do work. You want to make sure that you have the answer choice and not assume you have the answer choice. So let's get busy. Which number is a multiple of 14? Simple, straightforward, but we still got to underline. When we're underlining, when it's simply stated like this, we want to make sure that we're going back and thinking about the definition. So multiples is when we skip count. Now, these answers, if you look real quick, 14, well, 7 and 2, that's nice and convenient because they're factors of 14. So oftentimes students will see A, 7, oh, that works, circle it, move on. Or they see 2, well, 14 is even, so I'm going to go after 2. And I can multiply 2 by 7 together. Circle it, move on. They're not always going to take the time to look at the answer. So what I try to encourage them to do is, okay, multiples, skip count. This is going to be our first multiple. So we start with 14. We almost want to not look at the rest of these answer choices. We want to do our work first. So if this is our first multiple, now we can come here and say, well, anything lower than that, get rid of it. Those are my throwaways. So now I'm going to think about the next one in line. So 14 plus 14, 14 multiplied by 2. When we do that, we end up with 28. So now I look here. They're still lower than 28. I can't do anything now, but I know I need to keep going. So I go 28, add another 14 to it, 42. Now I look, oh, so I like this, and then so I know it's not going to be 34. 34 is too small. When in doubt, I skip count 3 times. So I can always double check, make sure I didn't make a mistake. 14 multiplied by 3, 4 multiplied by 3 is 2, 12. Drop the 2, carry the 1, 3 multiplied by 1 is 3, plus the 1 is 4. Now I know with 100% confidence I have the right answer, and I move on. And that's really important for some of our students that have a lot of test anxiety. If, especially some of these problems they're going to struggle with. There's no doubt they're going to struggle with, especially the multi-step problems, or if there's something that they forget, or they just get frustrated and they get in their head. But if they can be banking some of these down and just do the math and feel very confident about it because they did the math, then that helps decrease a lot of that test anxiety. And they know, well, I did really great on this, so if they're struggling with the next one, do what you can and move on. Okay? So this one says, which number is prime? Again, simple, straightforward, to the point. We want to underline prime, and then we want to think about the definition. So it's 1 and itself. So because it's 1 in itself, any number that is 1 doesn't work, because 1 is itself. So when I look through the answer choices, I can cross that one off because I know that's the one that's trying to trick me. Oftentimes students will see prime and they see 1 and they get excited and they circle it. If you think about the definition, then that helps eliminate that answer choice as being a probability. So then we look through. If we know it's 1 in itself, then we can eliminate anything that's even because 2 is the only even prime number. When I'm looking through, no even numbers. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do is think about any other math rules that I know. Well, I see the 5. Any number that's going to end in 5 or 0, with the exception of 5 itself, will have 5 as a multiple. So I know, and if I factored it out, I know 5 multiplied by 5 is going to be 25. I cross that off. So then I'm looking at 17 and I'm looking at 9. We might not feel very comfortable with 17 because nothing comes up real quick. So then we look at the 9 and we know 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. Cross it off. 17 is prime. If I try to factor it out, I skip count. I know 2's aren't going to work. Skip count by 3's, I'm not finding anything. Skip count by 4, not finding anything. 5's not an option. So they can narrow it down and feel pretty comfortable, especially if you're listing out a factor pair. So they don't have to list all of the factor pairs. And I just happen to make 2 that don't have a lot of factor pairs. But If they can find one other, then they know it's composite, it can't be prime. So it's just about being smart and looking at your options and relying on what we've been practicing all year. I wanted to give one more example that had a different set of options with bigger numbers. Sometimes it's easier to kind of break these out, but then when you start throwing bigger numbers at kids, they're like, error, error. I just want a simple answer. So we're going to just quickly do the same thing that we did. We don't see a 1, so we can't eliminate the 1. But we do notice we have 2 answers that have 5 in the 1's place. 5 is a factor. Can't be these 2. So even if they just get it down to this, they have a 50-50 shot of randomly guessing in my mom. But look right here. We have an even number this time. So I know 2 is a factor. So 2 is going to be a factor here, and 5 multiplied by some number, and hopefully we know this is, well, hopefully we know that's 11, and hopefully we know that that's 5 multiplied by 3, but even still, we know that there's another factor other than 1 itself, which leaves 67 standing. Okay, they can go through, try to factor it, they can divide by 3, because 2 is not going to work, and they're going to quickly figure out that there isn't another option. So it's all about practicing the rules and applying it, and don't look at the answer choices first without a plan and making sure that you are defining these themselves. So I hope that was helpful.